All right, well, to me, normal was getting up, putting on my jeans, my leather, 40 caliber on my hip, 38 in my vest, hopefully to cause as much chaos as I could. And that was normal to me. I had a gun shoved in my face, the trigger was pulled and shattered the bone under my left eye. Less than a year later, stabbed with a razor knife, same side, same eye. Makes you a very cold-hearted person, the way that not only you perceive things, but the way you do things. And the drinking got to the point where it damn near killed me. I was told I had less than 6 weeks to live. And that's when you have to make a decision with your life. And it's time to make a change.
All right, what's going on, everybody? That was tonight's guest, Manny Vitale. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and this is Hard Knox Talks, coming at you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty Number 6 territory, and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. Let's bring in Manny. How are you, Manny?
I am great, Dan. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Thanks for being here. I know our mutual friend Brad sent you our way a little while ago, and I had one look at you, and I said that guy's got to come on the show, and that's it. And then also you wouldn't stop messaging me. So
No, I wouldn't leave you alone, and it's kind of like that puppy. You know, you gave me that little bit, and then I just kept coming back.
Manny, is there anything that you'd like to say before we get started?
Man, I just want to thank, first of all, like you said, Brad at Sober's Cool, man, for that first step. And he got me going. He was that one person and got me to that second person, which is you and Donna and Hard Knocks, man. And I appreciate it. You know, I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. All right. Well, without further ado, let's go.
This is Hard Knocks Talks.
Okay, before we dive in, I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that tonight's live production is sponsored in part by the Elizabeth Fry Society of Saskatchewan, helping women before, during, and after incarceration, prairie harm reduction, emphasizing local action with national impact, and Stronger Together Canada, peer-led support groups by Mums Stop the Harm. To learn more about all our sponsors, visit www.hardknockstalks.com. So, Manny, you
Yes.
were a police officer for a number of years. How did that come to be? Like, did you grow up wanting to be a cop?
Well, actually, had a lot of family members who were police officers, and I actually went towards the medical field at first, and had a lot of certain family members like, well, what are you doing? And so then I made that change, and I did jump in with Detroit Police, and I was there for a short time, and went from seeing quite a bit of things that you see as an officer, especially in a big city.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you a cop for?
I was only there a little over a year and a half, and had some incidents, pop up, and from there ventured over and turned in my police car for an ambulance, working EMS, and as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, our story, our typical, our thing that we talk about here is substance use. When did that?
Yep.
Did your service work, like being a service provider, being a police officer and E.M.T, did that have anything to do with why you started using and drinking, or was that a thing? Like, did you grow up around alcohol?
Yeah, actually, that was something that's been around, my whole life. It started off fairly young, just like a lot of people when you're in your teens, just sneaking downstairs behind, mom and dad's bar, and started probably when I was about 15, and then just from there progressed. Mine wasn't really, jumping right in. So like mine was a slow process because I was involved in sports and everything like that. But as the years progressed, it definitely became more of an issue, and probably more when it was in my 20s and stuff. But I mean, once it got to that point, man, I tell you what, it took off. And also, seeing the things you see as an officer, seeing the things you see working EMS is something that everyday people don't see, and just the way you handle it and deal with it, internally. Mine was drinking. Mine was keeping everything, the feelings in and stuff like that, which is just a recipe for disaster.
Mm. So when did you make the switch then? You went from so you went from police officer to EMT.
Yeah.
And
And
then you went from that. Did you go straight into the club, or what was that like?
yeah, well, I wore a bunch of hats, and the
Yeah.
one hat was always the drinking and drug hat. That one was always in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Kept it well hidden. Well, you think you do.
Yeah.
That's one thing with us addicts, man. The one thing we're
Yeah.
good at is lying to ourselves, thinking I got away with that one, man.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one could tell I was slurring every other word.
Mm-hmm.
But going from that, so I literally went from a lawman to an outlaw. I started riding with a One Percenter Motorcycle Club,
Mm-hmm.
and the Detroit Highwaymen, and I tell you what, it's a different lifestyle, and like I said, mine was very internalized because I kept everything in, which is bad anyways to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you compound that with drinking and drugs,
Mm-hmm.
as I said in that intro, man, some of the stuff I considered normal, man. Just considered the violence, the
Wait,
rage,
hang
the
on.
stuff that.
I'm still trying to understand something here. How, because like
Mm-hmm.
when you were a police officer, surely you dealt with activity that like you saw that some of these clubs were engaging in, like sir, and as an
Yep.
EMT, you probably saw some of the fallout from the activities that these clubs were engaging in.
Yep.
How did you go from one side to the other? Like what happened up here? I'm just trying to understand how you would just like do a complete 180 like that.
A lot of it was from drinking, man. A lot of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that no one sees because you
Mm-hmm.
hide it so well. I had a lot of, the drinking and all that with the police department, obviously, is something, you're enforcing law.
Yeah.
And at times when you're not in the right frame of mind, you're making some wrong choices, decisions, which was making it pretty hard to do that job. Going from that into EMS and stuff, there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of transition that people didn't understand because I didn't understand it, man. It
Mm-hmm.
was the drinking and stuff that was making these decisions. They were decisions that I wouldn't normally make, and I wouldn't have made, but I did. And it damn near cost me my life on more than one occasion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, going from enforcing the law into pretty much making up my own law was something that almost, when they say it happens overnight, pretty much did. And the whole thing behind it was the drinking, was the drugs. It's that little friend that you have in the back of your mind that that you think is your friend, telling you what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you listen to it and you believe it instead of listening to your peers, your coworkers, your family, and your friends saying, "Listen, brother, you got a problem."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, the only problem I have is you getting off my back, and you make decisions that you regret.
Yeah.
So that's where mine came in. But so there was a lot of wrong decisions due to being under the influence at definitely the wrong time.
So there was people what was that? So there was people like expressing concern, like you said your
Oh,
coworkers and things like that. So did you leave willingly? Did you like screw this, I quit, or did you get canned, or what happened?
yeah, I left. There were some incidents. You screw up, you pay the price. There's consequences. There are write-ups. There's
Mm-hmm.
just like anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
my performance was nowhere where it should have been at all. And the one thing is, put someone's life in danger, is going to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
Even at that stupid state of mind that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't willing to do that to anyone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the thing is though, when you're in that line of work, I remember coming home when I first got on the job, talking to my girlfriend at the time, and I'm all excited, man. It's like, I got in the gun run today, I got in the shootout today, I got in this fight, I got this, and she's like, Scotty, nervous. I don't want to hear about it because it scared him.
Mm-hmm.
To the normal person, gunfire, you go the other way. Here I am, getting all geeked up because I get to run into it. And when you don't hear it, you turn to your peers who are doing the same thing. And what do? You go to the bar. So it was shift party. After the shift, we'd go to the bar, and here we are, cops getting shit faced, and swapping stories because the family and friends didn't want to hear it because they didn't want to hear their loved one in danger. But yeah, I had people saying, family members, hey, listen, man, you might want to take it easy. And it's like, you don't understand, and we're good at shifting the blame. You drink just as much as I do. It's like, the hell they do, man. But yeah, there was concern from family and friends.
Let's take a quick break here and look at some comments. Let's see here. And there's Donna. Hey, Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hello. I almost forgot to push the button. I would have gotten shit. You'd think by now it'd be second nature, but no, I still have to make like a conscientious effort to push the effing button.
Donna, I don't know if you heard me. I wanted to congratulate you on your 5 years.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a moment and shed a little light on that. I wish I had like confetti and stuff. Donna just celebrated 5 years in recovery yesterday. So let's throw a little bit of congratulations in the chat there for Donna and this incredible accomplishment.
Well, thank you very much. But it's not about me. The show is about Manny and his story.
And right now it's about Melissa's comment.
And right now it's about Melissa's comment. I do appreciate the, accolades. So, but anyways, let's get to Melissa's comment or question. In fact, I'd like to know, did some of the things you dealt with as a police officer and EMS lead you to drink more? Those are both high pressure jobs.
And they did. Sometimes, especially, I think you got that ego tough guy thing going. But when you're seeing some of the terrible things that you see that happen, to numb the senses, without a doubt, the drinking and the drugs did numb the senses for that short time. But without a doubt, it did. And that's why you see, people, first responders, God bless them, man. But remember, just people too, with a hell of a lot of responsibility. But to answer the question, it definitely did take a big part of it.
So when you left being an EMT and you went in with this motorcycle club, like, did you already have a Harley? Did you already kind of think that lifestyle was sort of glamorous? Did you run into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to live my dream, or what?
No, actually, I did have my bike. I was always, I love my Harley, love riding. My DNA, I love going 110 miles an hour at all times. The faster, the better, the more dangerous, the better. Just love the adrenaline rush. I've been around the motorcycle clubs all my life, all the different clubs. And I always said I would never join a club. But it's pretty funny what you do after about 7-8 shots of Patron. And next thing you know, you wake up and you got an armband, and you're now all of a sudden in a club. I always said, I'm sorry, as a probie, you get an armband around you wear as a probationary in the club. And I knew all these guys for a long, long time, and they've always wanted wanted me to join. So it's always been in my life, and I always said I would never do it. But then again, here come the drugs and here comes the drinking. You do things that you think you'd never do. And it's for the lifestyle for someone who's got that adrenaline rush. You always just go. That's the place to do it, and that's what I did. So, it's a hell of a ride, that's for sure.
Well, and that sort of ties into a question we've got from Onyx here, actually.
So Onyx would like to know did you switch from one brotherhood of police to 1% because of the excitement of living on the edge?
You know what? And that is such a good question, because even though you're literally dealing with one and the other, lawman to an outlaw, that brotherhood I've seen on both sides. Obviously, the boys in blue, you always hear the brotherhood in blue with the police. I lived it. I had some of my close brothers from the academy were killed in the line of duty. I've lost, and that brotherhood runs deep. With my club brothers, even though people perceive them and us as outlaws and stuff, that brotherhood, is so tight and strong, and that bond that you feel is that true brotherhood. So yes, actually, from one to the other, you're breaking the law, you're enforcing the law, whatever it was. It's that brotherhood, and that's what gets a lot of people too, is that feeling, that sense of belonging. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Hmm. Well, before we move too much further, we do have one more question here that I want to look at that's interesting to me.
So Stephanie Childress, thanks for your question. She'd like to know, did you ever feel guilty arresting people for drinking and drugs when you were drinking?
You know, um, there were times that I would always try to distance myself from that. And the answer to the question is yes. There were times because, I mean, shit, there was a time that, I mean, hey, this is hard knocks, man. Say it as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I literally got off duty, and it was probably later. I was being put into the same county lockup for drunk driving. So that day, I got off work as an officer, from my shift, went to a party, got shit faced, drove, got pulled over, and next thing you know, I'm locked up, and that's what you're thinking about here. Here I am putting cuffs on someone, or doing a sobriety test on someone, and
Mm-hmm.
4 hours later, I'm
In the
drunk.
same cell with them?
You know
Oh,
what?
hey!
The same. Yeah, and they find out that you're a cop.
Yeah.
They put you in with the door open, and I'm looking across the aisleway. It's like, I know that guy. I just arrested him 8 hours later.
you
It's like,
you got a problem. You got to get yourself
yeah,
checked out.
you drink too much.
Yeah.
You rookie. Hey, I got this drunk in half the time.
Yeah. So when you got into this club, was it like right to the bottom right away? Like you were talking about, strapping on, guns and going and hurting people, doing different things. Was that
Well,
was that right away, or did you ease into that, or?
and that's just it. Everyone, every brother, every club brother, is responsible for themselves.
Mhm.
You're not gonna, I did what I did because I wanted to do it. And the thing is, you know, we just, as the club brothers, we just wanted to have fun and go about life our own way. My way was, I went from enforcing the law to not obeying any laws except my own. And that was my lifestyle. And when I say that, I literally got up and threw my jeans on, my vest and my leather, and that 40 cal on my hip, that 38 in my vest, and a knife in my boot. I did that for a reason, because that was just the way it was. And I knew that from the beginning for myself, that's how that was my lifestyle. And there's certain people in clubs that are the nicest, gentlest, kindest people you'll ever meet.
Mhm.
And there's places in any type of organization for a certain type of person. I enjoyed what I did, which is pretty freaking ass cold hearted. But at the time, I didn't care. My senses were numb, my thoughts were numb, and the things that I did were pretty violent at times, and I didn't care. And for me, it was, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in both feet, man. I'm not gonna, test the water. I'm all in, and
Mhm.
so that's what I did.
So sometimes, and maybe this is just me speculating and making up my own thought patterns, but I think, being a law enforcement officer is a pretty high adrenaline occupation at times, and as long, and the same with EMT. Some people might use that to escape the way that they feel. Like they have these things that, they can get so lost in it that they forget that they're hurting inside. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think
I
that that's
do.
why? Do you think that that's why you got into policing, and that's why you went from policing to EMT and then the other direction?
Yeah, that's one thing, is I've always, even in my crazy, mind of, head of mine, I've always enjoyed helping people, which it
Mm-hmm.
sounds kind of crazy from what I just said about, the violent part. But there's sides of people that come out when the drugs and alcohol take over. but I've always wanted to be in the heat of the action. I've always enjoyed that, and working with police, working EMS, that meant going right to the trauma, right to the hot spot, and I just loved it. That adrenaline, and then helping people. But then again, my personal problems were still being internalized, man, because I wasn't talking to family, I wasn't talking to anyone, I was keeping everything inside, so I was getting more angry,
Mm-hmm.
and which I thought was my friend, which was addiction, which is no freaking ass friend. It's just it's an enemy. It's a coward that thinks it's your friend or makes you
Mm-hmm.
think it's his friend. Made me make even more stupid decisions than I normally would make, and so that's what kind of was that stroll down, just not caring, and just that alcohol addiction just you do things that obviously we're not stupid, man, that you normally wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you know what an ACE test is?
Is
ACE,
that what he said?
what an ACE score is?
Mm-mm.
No, adverse childhood experience. So
Mm.
there's this. Well, then we won't ask the question. One of our viewers is asking about an ACE score, and that's basically a test that you can take, and it talks about you get a different score depending on your adverse childhood experiences, right? And
Ah,
that can it can put a sort of a percentage on the odds that you're going to get into addiction or into toxic behaviors and stuff like that. But since
you,
you, yeah.
and it's, you brought that up about childhood and stuff, and that's one thing with me, because us addicts, we're really good at shifting the blame. It's
We
not
really
my
are.
fault I drink.
Hmm.
I divorced when I was little. My mom and dad didn't say they loved me enough. It's always someone else's excuse.
Hmm.
For me, that couldn't have been farther from the truth, man. I did come up from a broken home. My mom and dad did divorce, but man, I was surrounded by so much love for my family. So that's one thing with addicts, man, is we are always so quick to blame and try to make excuses and stuff. But that's one thing. For family members, don't ever think that this is your problem because of addicts and stuff, that you did anything wrong. This is our responsibility. We got to own it.
Hmm.
But so I just, when you said that about childhood, it just reminded me of that. So I just wanted to jump in real quick
Hmm.
and say a lot of times people like to use excuses for their addiction.
So you didn't have a lot of childhood adverse experiences? Like you didn't experience a lot of trauma or anything?
Well, I didn't say that, because the reason that I did come from a broken marriage, with my mom and dad, is my dad was not a very good man. He was violent. He
Hmm.
was dangerous. But my mother is a very strong person, and she got us out of that situation. And when she did, I'm living with aunts, uncles, cousins, and people are like, "Oh, that poor kid." Poor kid, nothing, man. I was surrounded by aunts, uncles, and cousins who loved me,
Hmm.
supported me. So that part was great. So I'm not going to sit there and try to blame anyone but myself for for my actions. I'm the one that put the bottle in my mouth. I'm the one that took the drugs. No one, you know, in my family or friends, forced me to do it. But yeah. So as far as my childhood, I can't speak. Everyone has their own issues, but mine was not to blame. That's for damn sure.
Hmm. You know Adam Booten?
I do.
Hmm. Got a comment coming in here from him.
He says, got the stepfather on the show. Now we just need the stepson. Lol. You're doing great, Pops.
Yeah, I'm proud of the kid, man. He's battling. He's with addiction, and he actually did post on my fight, our war, and he is fighting addiction, and to the point where I actually found him in the bathroom and revived him.
Mm.
Um, so it does hit home, and it does hit close,
Hmm.
and I'm very proud of him. And God bless you, man. Keep it up.
Hmm. Well, Adam was sliding into my DMs too here. I think it was today or was it yesterday, something like that. So you might see him on the show down the road. I don't know for sure. You know, we're going to jump on a Zoom meeting and we might hate each other. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Got another question coming in here. Oh, let's see. From
Oh boy. I see that. I
So do
see
you
that.
miss the Brotherhood of the Motorcycle Club?
Well, Lurch, I see Charles. Yeah, that's Lurch. Lurch was one of my he's master sergeant in the club, and
Mhm.
me and him, they Lurch for a reason, boy. He's. I tell you what, I love Lurch. I love you, brother. Thank you for listening. Me and him had a close relationship. Still do. But yeah, there's a lot of it that I do miss. There's a lot that I don't. But Lurch, I'm telling you, brother, I do miss you, and I'm glad you're doing well. And just keep it up, brother.
Mhm. So what finally did it for you? I mean, you certainly, we could probably sit here and tell war stories all night long. But many of us are more than well aware of some of the activities that happen in those circles. But what was it that finally did it? Did you finally, like, did your conscience start to shine through a little bit and see the things you were doing, or what was it?
It was just the turmoil, the violence was getting worse. Like I said, as far as the things that you would consider normal was like, oh, okay, well, I only get drunk once a week. Then it's 3 times. Then it escalates. Everything escalates.
Hmm.
Well, next thing I'm involved in a fight instead of just a little fist fight. You got a gun shoved right into your face, pull the trigger, and it shatters, the bone under your eye, and you're laying there just, in a puddle of blood, being rushed to the hospital with your face blown apart. And I was
Do you
just like,
remember?
you know what?
Do you
I
do you remember the
remember,
moment?
I remember the fight. I remember the turning around, and the person pretty much just. It was like a chicken shit ambush where I had my back turned and I turned around and he had the gun and literally shoved it right into my face. And as we started fighting for the gun, it was like right in my face. And then when he pulled the trigger, the barrel just smashed the whole side of my underneath my eye. And that's when I went out. I woke up in the hospital and I ended up having surgery. I got a plate put under this eye.
Hmm.
And at that time, still, I was just like, all right, as soon as I get out of here, I know what I'm going to do. There was no like, oh shit, this is a problem.
Hmm.
And a year later, same eye, involved in another little altercation and got stabbed with a razor knife. And you sit there and you think, normal person would be like, this shit's not, this is me. I was just like, all right, well, it happens.
Hmm.
And no, it don't happen. Um, and then, when you're pounding down a fifth and a half a day, and for me, next thing you know, I'm as yellow as a banana. And, we're all told that we have certain colors that we look good in. I'm telling you right now that yellow is not my color because I was freaking ass ugly. And I was taken to the hospital and I spent 27 days or so in Henry Ford, Maine, and most in ICU. And they came out and they basically said, um, you've got less than 6 weeks to live. Your organs, your liver, pancreas, and kidneys have shut down. You're going to die. So we had hospice come in, and next thing you know, I'm making phone calls to family saying I got 6 weeks. Saying my goodbyes. And next thing you know, the next day, 2, 3, 4 days later, I'm still there, and every day the doctors are coming in, taking more blood from me, and they're saying, "Well, how do you feel, Manny?" And I'm like, well, let's see, you just told me I'm going to be dead in 6 weeks, so I'm not feeling the greatest.
Kind of stressed a
Um,
little, like.
yeah, I've got things to do here. I'm going to
Yeah.
go and I'm going to grab me a fifth. I'm going to go grab me some strippers, and I'm going to go out with a, the bang.
That was the plan?
Uh, hey, you know what? If I'm going, I'm going to go live
Yeah,
fast,
yeah.
die young, make a
Yeah.
even uglier corpse in my case. But
Mhm.
next thing you know, I'm there, and every day more doctors are coming in. I'm supposed to
Mhm.
be going home to die, and now they're like taking more blood, and they wouldn't say anything.
Mhm.
But the last day, the room was full, just full of doctors. And Dr. Death, the one that told me I was going to die, is at the foot of my bed and he's smiling at me. And I'm like, you freaking evil prick, man. You just told me I'm going to die and you're smiling? And he goes, Manny, we're sending you home, but not to die. He said, we have been taking your blood every day. He goes, we can't explain it, man. He goes, you're and your organs have failed. They're not failing. Your organs have failed, but now your numbers are not only stabilizing, but they're actually going back within the normal range, which there is no pill, there's no IV. The only cure is death.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, by the grace of God, I'm still here, man, and not on any medication. It's crazy, and it's the grace of God that I'm still here, and if that doesn't straighten you up, being told that you're going to be dead in less than 6 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and don't forget this is 3 years ago. COVID shut the world down.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have intensive rehab from the minute I got out. I go to the place and they're like, "Sorry, Manny, we're closed. If you have suicidal tendencies, go to ER." So I never had any counseling. I never had rehab. I never had a sponsor. Because it wasn't available. COVID shut the world down.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been so freaking blessed that
Mm-hmm.
I have never had a craving. I've never had withdrawal. It's like I never drank. And that's by the grace of God, man. And, and that's how this whole process, my fight, our war, everything because of that. Shot, stabbed, multiple fights, hands busted so many times.
Mm-hmm.
The lifestyle I lived, and I have my best friend, my brother. I crawled into his hospital bed. I was like, my brother, Jerry, he died in my arms. And, from the same thing, and I'm still here. And if that doesn't open your eyes, then I don't know much will.
Yeah.
You survived the things that happened. There's a reason, and then my reason is to finally give back and to do my part and be part of the solution, and not part of the problem.
Did you ever have any you know what a foxhole prayer is? Like, God, get me out of this and I'll never drink again or I'll never do bad again. Like, was there any of that? Like, when you got the bad news, did you have a talk with God?
What's crazy is I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I was told, I was alone in my room, and I just sat there, and they left, and I was by myself, not a tear, nothing. I just accepted it. And it's so crazy, Dan, that the only time that I got scared is when they said, "Manny, you're going to live."
Oh,
And
shit.
it terrified me, because now it's like, because you said you can't even look at a bottle. If you look at alcohol, you're going to probably die.
Mm-hmm.
So now, instead of I got another chance, I'm like, shit, how am I going to live? I don't know how to live without drinking. Yeah, what am I going to do,
Yeah.
But living without alcohol, it scared the piss out of me. I was like, I'm just going to go home, stay in the basement, because I don't know how to have fun. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to socialize unless I'm half in the bag, drunk, or out of my mind on drugs. And that's the only time I was afraid. And next thing you know, one day led to the next. And it's like, this sober thing, there's something to it. And man, I tell you what, it's 3 years. January 27th, that just passed, marks my 3-year anniversary of sobriety. Along with, thank you so much. And along with
Manny.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate that, man. And it's also when I was told, you've got less than 6 weeks to live. So it was like, why me? That survivor's guilt.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend.
Hang on a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got that news, did you feel a sense of relief? Like when they said you're going to die, were you like, oh, thank God?
It was almost like, with everything else, the shooting, the stabbing, with all this, it's like, fuck, just get it over with, man. It's like, finally, it's just like, it's over. And that's why there was no tears. There was no fear. It was just like I said, the fear was when they said, you're going to live.
Yeah.
That scared the hell out of me,
Mm-hmm.
And, and I always knew from that day when I started getting better, getting back to the gym, starting to get my life back without alcohol, that I've got to give back. I knew in my heart there was something I had to do. But for the last damn 3 years was the same Manny, the same gunner. You know what I'm going to do? Nothing. I'm going to talk a good game. I'm going to sit on my ass, and I'm going to let another day go by. Well, that happened. until January 9th that this past January 9th, out of nowhere, I said, you know what? It's time to put up a shut up. And I said, I want to start a support group. So I've never done anything like this. I've never been interviewed. I've never done podcasts. And, I started a group. And you know what? I'm going to try. So I go, I need a name. Sit at the table. Out of nowhere, man, my fight, our war pops in my head.
I have
And
a
I'm like,
similar
what the hell's
story.
that?
I have a similar story
Yeah.
to that with this. Yeah.
And it's amazing because here, my fight is drugs, alcohol. Someone else's could be PTSD, eating disorder, whatever it may be. That's their fight. But our war in a whole is addiction. So it's like, oh, this fits. I went on to social media, Facebook, started this group. And next thing you know, I got 10 members. 2 days later, I got 12. I'm like, man, I got more than 10 members. I thought it was cool. Then I see you guys with 70,000 and shit. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And, but then I knew I wanted to pursue it, and I just kept pushing and kept pushing. And I started this family, and there's no pressure. There's no rules except be a good person, man. Tell your story at your pace. And it's just, every member in my fight, our war, we're family. We are there for each other. We listen to each other. And Brad, Sober's Cool. Got a hold of him, got on his show, and this thing just snowballed. We've got people from around the world that are members, and we're still growing. And it's because of Dad, Sober's Cool. It's because of you and Donna at Hard Knocks. It's because of all these other organizations. I have pretty much freaking ass failed at everything I've done my entire life. I will not fail at this. This is something that's a passion that I see in your eyes. I see hearing your voice and in Brad's. This is a passion, and I will not give up.
Is. Yeah. Let's look at some comments. We got a whole bunch. We're not going to get to everybody. I'm sorry, we're not going to see everyone's comments, but we'll look at a few.
Yeah. And before we get to the ones that we have in the queue, our good friend Barb would like to know, is there something that could be done to better support first responders based on your experience?
Well, there's counseling, and there is within the unions, within the police department, within the EMS. It's there. The key is using it. And the thing that takes us away from that is a lot of pride, a lot of ego, that we don't need it. We do need it, man. I always try to, think of myself as a tough guy. I tell you what, I'll cry with the best of them. Addiction's nothing to play with. Reach out. If it's your family, your friends, a coworker, counseling, take that step, man. Just take that first step. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Addiction has got to stop being treated like taboo. We have to talk about it. We have to embrace it. We can't have family members ashamed to say, my son or daughter, husband, wife is an addict. No, man, you got to embrace it. And we got to talk about it. But the help's out there. We just got to reach for it.
Very well put, Manny. And then just before we get to these questions and comments, I just want to let you know that we had a onslaught of congratulations. Super proud of you. All those beautiful accolades going out to you for your 3 years.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to the questions and comments in the queue. And News Jew says, proud of you and our family. Sorry if I mispronounced.
She is amazing. She is from Holland. She's from the Netherlands, and she has been fighting, and she is just an amazing, strong person. And she is just one of many who are just battling. As a family, we stick together so much. And when one of us is down, it's not one or two, it's 10, 15 people chiming in. You got this. You're not alone, man. And my 3 years, she's in another time zone, another country. Before, which was a day later, she was the first one to wish me, congratulations on my 3 years. That's the type of person she is. That's the type of people that we have in My Fight, Our War. It's the most loving, family. We will love you. We will treat you with respect and dignity, and we will not judge you. And I always say, though, we will kick you in your ass when you need it, just to keep you on track. And we're there for support. But I can't say enough. I love them all so much.
That's very apparent, and that is awesome.
That,
Beautiful. And Buffy May says, this story hits me hard as we talked earlier. It was the moment that gave you a second chance.
Purple hair Buffy from the Harley store. Chiming in, Hard Knocks Talks, in the recording for the ages.
Buffy. Yeah. Buffy, she's an amazing lady. I met her today. And the story she said, you could see the pain in that woman's face. And we bonded today, not only as an addict and her being a spouse of an addict, but ended up being in the one percenter lifestyle that we are in. And just our talking and our conversation, the day she was having and the day I was having was the greatest way to end the day, because the relief she got was compared that I got being able to help her and talk to her. It was just a beautiful thing. And then coming on with you guys now, I mean, it just doesn't get any freaking better than this. This, I tell you, this is the best. I like I said, as far as failing and stuff in the past, this here, what I'm doing is the most passion, the best feeling to help and to make a difference in someone's life. And you guys, God bless you. You do it every day. And I'm just starting out. And I hope to be part of your family as well.
Yes, well, come, young Padawan, come with us.
You thought you were, you're not me just because I'm on your show. I'm going to keep calling.
Yeah, oh, shit, I thought we were done with you. So you mentioned that it took you till January, was it January of this year, for you to finally feel some light in your life. What got you through? That's like 3 years of darkness, man. Like, did you try going to meetings? Did you try therapy? Did you anything at all? Like, how did you survive the 3 years, man? Recovery alone in the dark is dangerous.
You know what? I did not, only because I was so blessed, first of all, to still be alive, but I never had any cravings. It was so crazy. When I first got out of the hospital, I've had a lot of family members and friends who are recovering alcoholics. Mm-hmm. And here I am sitting there, home a week or so, and I've got people, very close to me in our family who I've got, 30 years recovery. You got to get a sponsor. You got to go to meetings at least 5 times a week. You've got to do this. You got to call them once a day. And I'm just like, doing one of these, it's like, shit, you're going to make me want to frickin' drink. I didn't feel comfortable being around it. And the thing is, I never had that because of COVID. I didn't have that opportunity. My fight, our war, we are different. And the thing is, I can say that is, I don't know what it's like to be in any type of group like Al-Anon, AA, CARE, FAN. And I will never badmouth anyone. I will support you 100%. If you're here and you're doing something to help the cause, I'm on your side, man. I will be there for you 100%. I will never badmouth anyone. I have had a lot of our members say that our family is so unique and different because there are no expectations. I'm not sitting there saying you have to do this by this date, and I'm not criticizing any other organization that does. But with us, it's just I didn't have anything to learn from. I didn't have anything, and But to answer your question, those 3 years, it was very frustrating because I knew that I wanted to do something, but the Manny of old, the gunner of old, did the same thing I always did. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. Mm-hmm. And that turned into a month, a year, 3 years, until the point where I don't know what. Well, I do know it was God, man. I keep asking why am I still here when my friends are dead? And this is why, because it's only been 11, 12 weeks. We got 1,000 members. We got our own logo. We got our own clothing apparel around the world. I'm on your freaking show, which this is, and it's 12 weeks, man. And it's such a blessing. And, It is just growing. And the thing is, because addiction cannot be pushed under the rug anymore. Addiction cannot be left in the back. It has to be brought out front. It has to be confronted. We need to attack it for what it is. It is a freaking coward that gets us when we're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And we got family members yelling at friends because of addiction. And it's not their fault, man. We weren't always addicts. I was Manny before I was an addict,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and people got to remember that. And it's something, some people say you're lazy, you're weak. I tell you what, addicts are weak. We deal with pressure just like everyone else does with work, finances, relationships, just like everyone else. But on top of that, we deal with addiction that's eating at our soul 24/7, and we fight, and we fight hard, and we don't give up. We may stumble, yeah, we're going to fall, but we're going to get back up because that's what we do. And at my Fight Art War with our people, with Hard Knocks, with Sober's Cool, we're not going to let you fail, because if our way doesn't work, we're going to find a way that does. And we're never going to give up on you. We're not going to judge you, because I'm one of you, man.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, with someone with the past experiences that you have and some of the things you've done, when you are out there in the world today living your sober life, away from all of that, and someone really pisses you off, like say you get road rage or whatever the circumstance, someone makes you exceptionally angry. Do your thoughts ever go back to I could bring out the old Manny for 5 minutes here and tune some shit up? Or
Yeah. Oh,
just...
yeah. I mean, he's still here. He's still here.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I control him now. In the
Mm-hmm.
past, he controlled me. There's days I woke up, my hands were busted. I'd look in the mirror and I was full of blood. I had people patching me up, and now it's different. Instead of reacting, I try to stop. I think, which is something I never did. And if you're not good at it, that was me, man. I just but there are times now where I get pissed. It happened today, man. I was out and someone was not being very pleasant, and I let them know in a more civil way, where in the past it may not have gone that way, but but I could say with such pride, that's one thing I can say I'm proud of myself, is I've never to this day thought about drinking. It's never entered my mind. And that's the big guy upstairs, man. I couldn't do any of this without God, man. And I'm no Bible thumper. I know that there's a top and a bottom cover to the Bible and pages. I can't tell you scriptures. I can't tell you this, but I can tell you my faith is so strong. And what I'm doing now is this passion and love to help and be part of, like I said, the solution and not part of the problem. And finally fight the good fight for the right reasons instead of the shitty ass fights I've been doing for the wrong reasons. Feels amazing.
So did the feeling that you get now from helping people, does that almost bring guilt on from how, maybe it shines new light on just how lost you were back then and some of the bad things? Is there a new sense of awareness there? Do you ever feel any guilt from the past?
Man, yeah. And a lot of it is very scary. One of them was about some of the things that I did that I really can't discuss. The fact that it didn't bother me scares the shit out of me. And the regret is the pain that I caused family, friends, loved ones, and I didn't care. That's not, I mean, it is, and I got to own it, because that was me. It'd be, well, it was my drinking. No shit, asshole, but you're the one that put the bottle in your mouth. So it was you. Own it, and that's what I got to do. But you brought this, it just brought back a memory, me sitting at the table with my mother, one of the many speeches of my mother sitting across the table from me, crying, you are breaking my heart, literally pounding on her chest. You're breaking my heart. And I remember looking at her with this, will you just fucking get on with it? I got to hurry up and get to the bar. I'm going to go grab a bottle, blah, blah, blah. As she's crying her eyes out in front of me, and I didn't care. And fast forward till now, this was, a year or so ago. I remember sitting at the table with her, having a great conversations, laughing and stuff. And that popped into my mind. She's sitting at the same chair. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at her, and I saw that vision of her crying. And I just lost it. And she's looking at me, and I go, I'm so sorry. And I told her what I just remembered. I go, I made you sob crying that I freaking ass care. That's how evil addiction is. The pain in her eyes, I will never forget. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to forget. I want that burned into my memory. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, that what you just said really hits home, because that's keeping me going. That's keeping me focused. That's keeping me fighting the good fight, because I don't want to ever be the reason that someone has that look on their face, and it's because of me.
So where that brings up another question for me. Where was your mom during all of this? Like, all of the, you were a cop. Was she like so happy for you when you became a police officer, and then as things went sideways, was she around? Like, did you often visit her when you were wearing your leathers and stuff? Like, what did that look like? What did your relationship with your mom look like through all that?
Yeah, I was always involved. See, with me, family was so important. That's another thing that addiction takes away. It takes away your loved ones. It takes away your feelings, man. I was always the one, any family function, Christmas, holidays, birthdays, I'm all in, man. I want to be there. Next thing you know, I'm not showing up for Thanksgiving dinner. Next thing you know, I'm not showing up for my goddaughter's birthday. Next thing you know, I'm making excuses. Oh, I got to work. I'm sick. I got a stomachache, blah, blah, blah. My mom was there towards the end when it was worse. This is how bad addiction is. I had to move in with my mom and dad. My dad, God bless him, God rest his soul, was passed away. He died from ALS, a terrible, terrible, evil disease that strips your body from you and leaves your mind. I moved in with them, and this man was the stoic, strong bull of a detective, paying drywall by himself. This guy was just my hero. When he was diagnosed with ALS, that man said, this is the hand I've been dealt. We'll deal with it. Never complained, never anything. My ass gets in there to help, and all I'm thinking about is my next freaking drink. That's how selfish addiction makes you. This man, was right there. And my mom, back to your question, my mom was there, but she had so much other stuff on her mind. We're dealing with my dad, who's dying every day a little bit in front of us because of this evil disease, that, I'm using that as an excuse. I mean, how messed up is that? I'm using my dad's ALS for me to justify my drinking. Well, my dad, I got to deal with this. Till the time he looked at me one time as I'm helping him, and he said, in his hospital bed, in the bedroom, what can I do, son, to make your life better? You would think that would do something. You know what that did? Nothing. That made me nothing. That's how addiction, cold-hearted it is. And I, still, but that's the cold part of addiction. But as far as my mom, she was always there. But unfortunately, she had so much other things going on that the main focus wasn't me and my addiction. She knew about it, but that poor lady had so much else going on that she was dealing with. Mm-hmm. She did what she could. She knew there was a problem. She confronted me on it many times in many different ways. Mm-hmm. It was rough. But seeing her eyes that day and knowing that I broke her heart is something I'll never forget. And that's something I really wish that a lot of other addicts will remember, is we're not just hurting ourselves. We're hurting loved ones, man. We're hurting people that love us, that care about us. Don't be mad at the ones who are giving you shit. Embrace them. Don't be, happy with the ones at the bar that are like, screw them. Here, have another drink. We're on your side. No, they're not. They're not on your side.
Yeah. How long did it take you to repair that relationship, or is it perhaps still on its way back?
It's a work in progress. And the thing is, when I said, my past history speaks for itself. Pretty much say I'm going to do this, fail at it, screw it up. Say I'm going to do that, talk a good game, fail at it, screw it up, and move on to something else. So when this happened, when I told her about the support group, when I told her, you know what, this is my passion. And it happened when I was down, I was praying at the Father Solana Center in Detroit, very religious, holy place that I go to every day. And, like I said, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but that day I was touched by the hand of God, man, because I was praying and I looked up and I knew, I felt that I had to do something. My mother is, I'm like, this here is, she's going to be so proud. And, it's taken a lot to repair the damage. And the thing is, I don't blame her one bit. The damage that we cause as addicts to our loved ones, sometimes you burn that bridge. And I know a lot of addicts will be like, I can't believe they're giving up on me. You know what? You freaking deserve it. I deserved it. I deserved everything that happens to me, because the pain, physical and emotional pain that we cause others, sometimes is, even though it's blood, sometimes it's irreversible.
Yeah. Got one more comment here. Sorry, we're not going to get to everybody's comment, but something from Blair. Team Sask. I think Blair's from Saskatchewan. Unless there's another Blair Friesen somewhere else.
So Blair says, I really, really appreciate people like you who share their story. It takes a lot of courage to share where you've been, and I admire those who recover out loud.
She looks like Saskatchewan Blair. That's Saskatchewan Blair. Yeah. Hi, Saskatchewan.
Hi, Saskatchewan Blair.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I really hope that, a lot of the listeners and people that are watching and listening, please check us out. Please go to My Fight, Our War. Just look at, we will love you, man. We will support you. And that's what it's about. Tell your story, but tell it at your own time. For recovery, there is no right time. It's your time. It's when you're right, when you're ready. I had a person say, well, my sister or so-and-so said that I should do this. Well, you know what? Tell them that when you're ready, when you're ready. And sharing your story for myself, when I told my story, what happened to me, I felt like I took my first breath in my life. And it was so beautiful. And and then taking ownership of what I've done and owning the terrible things that I've done. First of all, just to say addict, I was never an addict, because people would say something to me, friends and family, about my drinking. I'm like, you're with me when we're drinking. You drink as much as I do, and you're giving me shit. Well, it's just, a whole part of it is just to take that first step, man. Just take that first step.
Awesome. All right, Manny. Well, I think we're going to wind her down here. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Is there anything that you'd like to say to anybody out there who might be struggling?
Yeah. If you're struggling, don't ever give up, man. I mean, all it takes, and for everyone else too, don't judge. Don't judge an addict. Don't judge just by what you think an addict is and how they are. Because like I said, that person was a person before they were an addict. And don't be so quick to judge. Just listen. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Just lend an ear. Be supportive. And as an addict, don't be too proud, because it'll cost you your life. Eventually, you're going to lose this battle. It's Russian roulette, man. And life is too precious. Life is too short. So reach out, get help. There's so many organizations. Dan, Hard Knocks, man. Brad, Sober's Cool, Fan, Cared, AA, Al-Anon. And of course, please check us out. Please come to My Fight, Our War. We've got the most beautiful, caring family that you'll ever meet. But just never give up. The only way you'll fail is if you quit. And I promise you, we won't let you quit, because if this way doesn't work, we will find another way for you.
Cool, man. All right. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, everyone. Stick around. We're going to spin the wheel in just a minute. But for now, Manny, we will let you go. Thanks so much for sharing your experiences with us tonight. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, Dan. And just so you know, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to be popping in on all your live shows and saying, yeah, I want back on the show. I want back on the show.
Do it.
I got a
on.
ring light. I got a ring light.
Yeah, he did. He went out and got a ring light. I told him, like, you want to get, if you're going to do this, Manny, you got to get a ring light and a tripod and some earbuds. He's like, I'm going to go do that shit right now.
Extra battery. I got an extra battery.
Yeah. And that saved the day. Actually, no, it didn't, but the other thing did.
Extra air. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to let you go, brother. But we'll see you again. Take care for now.
Thank you.
All right, if you're getting something out of what we're doing here, you can find all our audios on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or live and interactive right here on Facebook and YouTube every Sunday night. Thanks for watching. Take care, my friends. Say, this is Hard Knocks Talks.